The first Pokemon Stadium, or the second if you lived in Japan, had 4 different cups: the Prime Cup, the Poké Cup, the Petit Cup, and the Pika Cup. Each of them had different rules. For example, the Petit Cup only allows you to use pre-evolved Pokemon under a certain height and weight between the levels of 25 and 30, and your 3 selected Pokemon couldn't surpass 80 in total. But the cup that intrigued me the most has to be the Pika Cup. This one allows you to use any of the then 151 Pokemon except Mewtwo and Mew. The catch is that they needed to be any levels from 15 to 20, and the levels of the 3 selected Pokemon for a match couldn't surpass 50 when combined. Now what makes this an issue is that a lot of Pokemon are typically found in the wild or evolve into their later forms at levels higher than that. It's more challenging to build a tough team when you have to write off many of your go-to powerhouses. Or that's what you'd assume, but don't write them off just yet. For one thing, you can find a lot of evolved Pokemon in the wild at lower levels than what their pre-evolutions need to obtain to evolve. This is a subject that has always fascinated me, and even after many years after Generation 1's prime, I've wondered just how many Pokemon are eligible for the Cup. And that is the topic of this video. But I'd like to set a number of guidelines before we get started. Firstly, and most obviously, no alterations through the use of cheat devices will count. I don't think I need to explain why. Any Pokemon that can be obtained at least level 20 will be considered eligible, but we'll try to find them at lower levels if possible. Only first generation Pokemon games will be covered. I don't think it would be fair to include Generation 2 when it didn't exist at the time, so no breeding from Gen 2 and cross-generation trading to get an eligible Snorlax. Pokemon that can only be obtained at the required levels through the use of glitches won't be counted. Let's try to keep it as close to as how it was intended as possible. And with that out of the way, let's get started. I'm just going to lump all of the starters together because it's the same story for all of them. You choose all of their first forms at Professor Oak's lab at level 5, or as level 10 gifts elsewhere in Pokemon Yellow, so they all qualify already. All 3 of them evolve into their second forms at level 16, so they qualify as well. That's cool and all, but it bugs me how they can't quite be obtained at the Pika Cup minimum, so they can't be fit into any team. Somehow they can be used as rentals at level 15 in Pokemon Stadium, and I want to know how they did it. Nah, forget it, it's not worth going into. But it's pretty obvious you won't be using Venusaur, Charizard and Blastoise in the Pika Cup no matter what. Charmeleon and Wartortle evolve at level 36, Ivysaur at 32, far beyond the level cap of 20, and no starters can be found in the wild, never mind the final forms at level 20 or less. Venusaur, Charizard and Blastoise are ineligible. Caterpie is found below level 15 in many areas early in the game. It evolves into Metapod at level 7, and Metapod evolves into Butterfree at level 10. All 3 are eligible, nothing more needs to be said. Pretty much the same deal as Caterpie in its evolutions, although it's not in the yellow version. Moving on. Pidgey is found in many early areas below level 15, no surprises there. It evolves into Pidgeotto at level 18, but if you really want one at level 15, you can find them at level 9 in the Vividian Forest in the yellow version, clearly as a reference to the Pidgeotto Ash Court there in the anime. But that's where the luck runs out for this bird line. Pidgeotto evolves into Pidgeot at level 36, and wild Pidgeots don't exist anywhere in Generation 1 Kanto, never mind level 20 or under. Rattata is another early Pokemon that appears in many locations below level 15, and it also evolves into Raticane at level 20. Fun fact, but Raticane was the Pokemon I used the most to beat the Pika Cup back in the day because it was something I had at level 20 after evolving my Rattata. As a result, I failed to beat it in round 2 over and over. This is something else for the gargantuan gaming gaffs. But if you want one at the lowest scale of the Pika Cup restriction, Pokemon Yellow has you covered. You can find them at level 15 in Route 21. You're going to learn that Yellow is quite the companion when it comes to this subject. I'm certain they knew what they were doing and made it this way on purpose. Spearow is yet another early Pokemon found in countless locations below level 15, so that's a no-brainer. It evolves into Fearow at level 20, but if you desperately want to use a Fearow and a middle evolution starter for your Pika Cup team, then you can find a level 19 Fearow in Route 9 in yellow. Ekans is found only in red version and their lowest level is 6 in Route 4. Easy enough, but Arbok isn't quite so lucky. Ekans evolves into one at level 22, just barely missing out on the Pika Cup. It only starts to appear in the wild late in the adventure and way higher than level 20, so close yet no cigar. Pikachu can be found in the Vividian Forest as low as level 3. You can then evolve it at any level you want with a Thunderstone. It'll miss out on most of its level up moves, but that's what TMs are for. Sandshrew is basically the blue counterpart to Ekans and is cursed with the same predicament sadly. It can be found below level 15 in Route 4 in blue, Route 3 in yellow, but evolves at level 22 and Sandslash only appears in the wild way later on. So yeah, that's a shame. Both male and female Nidorangs can be found as early as Route 22, which can be accessed very early on, and their minimum level is a measly 2. Why were there no level 1 Pokemon until Gen 4 anyway? Was it that way because of a programming issue? Whatever. Both Nidorangs evolve at level 16 and both of those evolutions evolve again through the use of a Moonstone. I feel that there should be level 16 Nidorinas and Nidorinos somewhere, but I'm quite certain there's not. Maybe you should ask the cheaters who loan you their Pika Cup rentals where they got theirs. Wild Clefairies can be found at Mount Moon below level 15 and they evolve into Clefable through the use of a Moonstone. You can find Vulpix at exactly level 15 in Route 8 in the blue version only, evolve it into a Ninetales with a Firestone and there you go. Jigglypuff is the rare Pokemon of Route 3 and its level can be as low as its route number. Evolve it at any level with a Moonstone to get Wigglytuff. I don't think I need to tell you where you can find eligible Zubats. No one who's ever made it through Mount Moon could ever forget how absurdly common it is in that early game cave. However, it's another unlucky Pokemon that evolves at level 22, and by the time Golbat earns the right to start appearing constantly in caves as well, it's too late and they're all far beyond level 20. Oh well, in these pre-Crobat times, I have little interest in using this line anyway, but that's just me. Oh damn, if you thought Arbok, Sandslash and Golbat had it bad, spare a thought for Gloom and Vileplume. Oddish is easy enough to obtain at level 13 in Route 5 unless you're playing blue, but it evolves into Gloom at level 21, just missing out on the magic 20, meaning both it and Vileplume miss out. I feel like I've seen a level 18 Gloom somewhere in Gen 1, but maybe that was just a trainer's Gloom that they caught in another region or something. If you can bear wading through the hordes of Zubat in Mount Moon, you can find Paris there under level 15. Simple enough, but Parasect on the other hand presents a bigger problem. Paris evolves at level 24 and the only wild Parasect are found in the post-game area, the Cerulean Cave. Needless to say, the Parasect there won't be competing in the Pika Cup. But wait, it's not over yet. First, in the yellow version, hunt down the level 13 Venonat in Route 25 and trap it in a Pokeball. Next, move the Venonat over to red or blue version and find a trader who wants a Venonat for a Tangela in the Pokemon Lab. You see, when you trade a Pokemon with an in-game NPC, the traded Pokemon will have the same level as what you gave to them. This little trick will come in very handy. Now bring that Tangela back to yellow and trade it for Parasect in Route 18, and there you have it, a Parasect as low as level 13. Pretty nifty, huh? Well, as I just said, Venonat can be located at level 13 in Route 25 in yellow. Sadly, that's as far as this line goes. Venonat evolves into Venomoth at level 31, and the only wild Venomoth are also in the Cerulean Cave. Bummer. Diglett can be found exactly at level 15 in Diglett's Cave, but Dugtrio, with its evolution level at 26, will pose more problems. Find a level 15 Slowbro by surfing on the water in Route 12 in yellow. It may take some time as they only have a 5% chance of appearing. Then, bring the Slowbro to red or blue and trade it for a Lickitung in Route 18. Then bring the Lickitung to Route 11 and trade it for a Dugtrio in yellow. And there you go. Unrelated, but I once wish it were possible to get a level 1 Diglett in Gen 1 so I could see how piss poor its HP would be. Meowth can be found in Route 5 at level 10 only in the blue version, but when it comes to Persian, you're fresh out of luck. Found nowhere in the wild, and Meowth evolves at level 28. So no. Psyduck can be found at level 15 by surfing underwater in Route 6 in the yellow version. You can also find level 15 Golduck in the same location. Neat! Mankey can be caught at level 10 in Route 5 in red and as low as level 3 in Route 22 in yellow, but evolves into Primeape at level 28, and the only wild Primeapes are in Route 23 at level 41 in yellow. If you see any Primeapes in the Pika Cup, run away, it's a cheater! Level 15 Growlithe show up in Route 8 but only in the red version. They're found much later in the Pokemon Mansion in yellow and nowhere in blue. Evolve it with a Firestone whenever to get Arcanine. Poliwag can be caught with a good rod at level 10 in Route 6 in all 3 versions, but Poliwhirl can only be found at level 15 in Route 22 in the yellow version. Evolve it with a Water Stone and there you go, a level 15 Poliwrath. Abra is found at level 8 in Route 24, then evolves into Kadabra at level 16. Oh, another level 16 evolver, why oh why? Trade it at any time to obtain Alakazam. Simple. It's frustrating, but considering how overpowered the Psychic type and Alakazam is in Generation 1, it's a strong candidate for one of the level 20 fighters in your team. The Marchops in the Rock Tunnel in red and blue can be as low as level 15, but they evolve into Machoke at level 28. You can, however, find level 16 Cubones in the Safari Zone in yellow, which can then be traded with an NPC in the underground tunnel linking Route 5 and 6 for a Machoke. But because Machoke is a trade evolution, it will instantly evolve into Marchamp, and unlike other most forms of evolution, this cannot be stopped by pressing the B button. So this is a bizarre case where the final form of a Pokemon can enter the Pika Cup, but not the middle form. Bellsprout is the blue version counterpart to the Oddish line and shares the exact same problems. Evolves at level 21, just barely missing out on the cap. Weeping Bell is nowhere in the wild below that, meaning both it and Victory Bell miss out. Despite appearing late in the game, Tentacle can be found at level 5 on surfing routes, such as 19, with surprising ease. As it evolves into Tentacruel at level 30, you'll need to catch one at level 20 in Route 20 in the yellow version. Now this line may be controversial. Geodude is located easily enough at level 8 in Mount's Moon, but its next form poses more problems. Geodude evolves into Graveler at level 25 and isn't found anywhere in the world at the Pika Cup levels. But this is a possible answer, one I'm not sure will count. The Japanese blue version has different trades from all the others, including the NPC who wants to trade their Graveler for a Kadabra. This is the same trainer who wants a Raichu for their Electrode in the English red and blue, which explains why he says the Raichu went and evolved. So anyway, trade a level 16 to 20 Kadabra for this Graveler and it will evolve into Golem, making this another line with an ineligible middle form and only for the Japanese version. There's a warning on the back of these boxes of these games to not trade with versions with different languages, as it may damage both games. Which scared me a little honestly, so unless you want to harm your game, Golem in the Pika Cup is a Japanese exclusive. And here we have the first completely ineligible line. Ponyta's lowest level is 28 in Route 17 in yellow, which pretty much puts Rapidash out of the question as well, and there are no trades to remedy the situation either. Slowpoke can also be found at Route 12 by surfing at level 15 in yellow, just like Slowbro can, as mentioned earlier, nothing more to say. The lowest level you'll find a Magnemite is at level 16 in Route 10 in yellow, but it evolves into Magneton at level 30 and is nowhere in the wild below that. Magneton won't be storming the Pika Cup anytime soon. The only way to get a Farfetch'd in red or blue is to trade a Spearow, or a Pidgey if it's Japanese blue, for one in Vermilion City. With Spearow appearing early on and evolving at level 20, you're likely to get an eligible Farfetch'd without even trying. Doduo's lowest level is placed awkwardly at 18, it evolves at 31, and since you can barely get Doduo in the Pika Cup, it shouldn't come too much of a surprise that Dodrio won't be entering at all. Seal's absolute lowest level is 22 somewhere in Seafoam Islands in the yellow version. Damn it Yellow, you usually don't let me down when it comes to this topic. Why would you let poor Seal just barely miss out like this? But don't count Dewgong out just yet. A trader at Pokemon Lab is offering one in the yellow version in exchange for a Growlithe, and as we've seen already, you can find them at level 15. Who needs Seal when you have its evolution anyway? Good save Yellow. The lowest level Grimer is level 23 in the Pokemon Mansion in Yellow. Again with this Mr. Pikachu game, and later on in the adventure as well, for shame. But here we have the second evolution who is eligible while its pre-evolved form isn't in a row, but only for the Japanese players again. Trade a level 15 Golduck for a Rhydon in the Pokemon Lab in the yellow version. Then send that Rhydon over to the Japanese blue version and trade it for a Kangaskhan in Route 11. Then bring that Kangaskhan back to yellow and trade it for a Muck at the Pokemon Lab. I'm a little disappointed this will only work for the Japanese versions because it's just so elaborate and I felt like a genius for working it out. Shelder can be fished at level 15 in Route 6 in the red and blue versions. Evolve it anytime with a water stone to get Cloyster. Simple. Ghastly and Haunter can only be caught in the Pokemon Tower. Ghastly can be found at level 18 in all versions, but Haunter's lowest level barely squeezes in at level 20 in the yellow version. You can then trade it and voila, level 20 Gengar. If only you could cancel trade evolution. You could get a level 16 Gengar by trading a level 16 Machoke from the yellow trade mentioned earlier with yet another in-game trade in Japanese blue, but you can't, so no need to dwell on it any further. Onix can be found at level 13 in its first wild area, Rock Tunnel, level 14 in yellow for some reason, done and dusted. Drowsy is found at level 9 in Route 11 in the red and blue version, but it evolves at level 26, no Hypnos in the Pika Cup. Fish up Krabby at level 10 with a Super Rod in Route 25 in the yellow version. It evolves at level 28, but instead of fretting over that, stay in the yellow Route 25 and fish up a level 15 Kingler with a Super Rod. Voltorb is found at level 14 in Route 10 in red/blue, but evolves into Electrode at level 30. But if you trade a Raichu at the Pokemon Lab for one, you can have an Electrode as low as level 3. You could potentially send over a yellow version Pikachu to red/blue, evolve it and then trade it for this Electrode, but that sounds like an incredibly vindictive thing to do, and even thinking about it is making me sad. Execute is only found in the Safari Zone and barely makes it to the Pika Cup. You can find them in Area 2 at level 20 in the yellow version. You can then evolve it into Executor anytime with a Leaf Stone. As already explained in the Marchop line section, Cubone can be found at level 6 in Area 2 of the Safari Zone, but as it evolves into Marowak at level 28, only one Bonehead is making it in. Putting these two together because their situation is the same. The only Hitmonlee and Chan in the main games are rewarded to you as gifts after beating the Fighting Dojo at level 30. That may seem like it would mark the end of their Pika Cup chances, but not quite. If you beat the Gym Leader Castle with a transfer pack team, you are rewarded with rare Pokemon, the ones you have to choose between, such as the starters. Well, two of these are Hitmonlee and Chan, and they're at level 20 instead of 30. It may seem like cheating at first, but remember, I said only Generation 1 games would count. And come on, Pokemon Stadium is the home of the Pika Cup to begin with. Although if I remember right, you can choose to play Pika Cup rules in the yellow version's Link battles. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't count. As detailed during Dugtrio's part, find a level 15 Slowbro in Route 12 by surfing in yellow, then trade it for a level 15 Lickitung in Route 18 in red/blue. A little off topic, but I think I'm the only person who loves Licky. It was the only normal type that could learn Explosion in Gen 4, the last gen where it cut the target's defense by half. And then in the next gen, with weather more prevalent than it had ever been, I loved using Cloud9 Licky for my triple battle team to shut their strategies down. Sorry for this little diversion, I just wanted to bring it up. Well, this is frustrating. You will fight plenty of Pika Cup eligible coffins early on, mainly used by the Rocket Grunts, but you can only find them at level 30 at the lowest in the Pokemon Mansion in Red/Blue. Maybe if it appeared in Yellow, it would have been level 15 somewhere, but apparently there's a rule in place that disallows Yellow players from catching Jesse and James's Pokemon, including Meowth of course. It's about the most devious thing the trio has ever done. You can just about find a level 20 Rhyhorn in the central area of the Safari Zone in Yellow, but there's a better option. Catch a level 15 Golduck and trade it for a Rhydon at the Pokemon Lab. Now keep it away from water and grass moves. Oh man, if you want to use Chansey in the Pika Cup then good luck. They can be found as low as level 7 in the Safari Zone central area in Yellow, but they have a mere 1% chance of appearing, and you have to catch her under the always annoying Safari Zone mechanics. You could spend ages trying to find her and she just runs away from you. This is probably the toughest Pokemon to obtain for the Pika Cup, and that's a shame because Chansey was damn good in Red and Blue. Before the special split, her special attack was as high as her special defense, so she could wall special attacks and dish them out as well. As already said, find a level 13 Venonat in Yellow, send it over to Red/Blue and trade it for a Tangela in the Pokemon Lab. As detailed in the Muck and Rhydon sections, get a level 15 Golduck in Yellow, trade it for Rhydon and then trade it for a Kangaskhan in Route 11 in the Japanese Blue version. You can fish Horsey at level 15 in Route 19 with a Super Rod or Route 13 in the Yellow version. To get Seadra, you'll find them at Route 13 with a Super Rod as well at level 20, but only in Yellow. This means you could legally get a level 20 Kindra by sending it over to Gen 2. Just thought I'd mention that. Goldeen can be fished up below level 15 in all versions with a good rod in Route 6, but evolves into Kindra at level 33, which isn't found anywhere in Pika Cup levels or less. Ineligible. Staryu can be fished up at level 15 in Route 19 in Red/Blue with a Super Rod and as low as level 5 and 10 in Pallet Town in Yellow, then evolve at any time into Starmie with a Water Stone. Starmie is a serious contender for a level 20 choice, it's so damn good. You can only get Mr. Mime through an in-game trade in Route 2, Abra in Red/Blue, Jigglypuff in Japanese Blue, Clefairy in Yellow, all of which are found under level 15 easily. Cypher can only be found at level 15 in the central Safari Zone area in Yellow. Knowing isn't half the battle because then you have to deal with the Safari Zone's usual bollocks. The only obtainable Jinx is through an NPC trade in Cerulean City, only in Red/Blue. Catch a level 15 Poliwhirl in Yellow, send it over to Red/Blue, and there you go. Electabuzz's lowest Gen 1 level is 33, only obtainable in the Power Plant in Red. It wouldn't and shouldn't appear in the Pika Cup. End of story. Same deal with Magmar, only its lowest level is 34 in the Pokemon Mansion in Blue. Nothing more to say. You can find Pinsir at level 15 in Area 2 of the Safari Zone in Yellow. I should think so too. If Cypher can get in, its counterpart should as well. Ooh, so close. The lowest level you can find Tauros is level 21 in the Safari Zone in Yellow, one level off the cap. Why would you do this to me, Yellow? There's actually a trade in the Japanese Blue version for a Tauros, but the trader wants a Persian, and we've already established that you can't find any below Meowth's evolving level. You are tearing me apart, Japanese Blue! Well, this one shouldn't be any trouble. Magikarp can be found in any water at level 5 with the old rod. It evolves into Gyarados at level 20, but you can fish one up at level 15 in Future City with a Super Rod. The only Lapras you'll find anywhere is a gift in Saffron City, right at level 15. It could have easily been at a much higher level considering how late in the game this is, but it's right at the required level. You're too kind. I thought Ditto was bound to be ineligible. It appears in the later stages of the game, where the wild Pokemon levels are way beyond 20, but my boy Yellow comes to the rescue again. They can be found in the basement floor 1 of the Pokemon Mansion in the Yellow version as low as level 12. Considering this is when the end of the game is on the horizon, this comes to me as quite a surprise, but a pleasant one nonetheless. Eevee can only be found in Celadon City in the mainline games, already at level 25, but as with Hitmonlee and Chan, Eevees are given away as gifts after clearing the Gym Leader Castle with a Game Boy team, and these Eevees are at level 20, then it's just a matter of choosing which evolution you want it to become. I always felt it was unfair how Porygon cost less coins to buy in the blue version compared to red and yellow. They probably thought that it's balanced because it's at a lower level in blue, but that's only become even more of a benefit because it's at level 18 and the only way to get a Porygon into the Pika Cup. Omanite and Kabuto have the same situations. They're revived at level 30 as fossils, but you can get them as Gym Leader Castle gifts at level 20, just barely enough to get in, but they evolve at level 40 and their evolutions are nowhere in the wild. Oh well. Aerodactyl can only be obtained by reviving Old Amber. It's at level 30 and cannot be obtained in any other way. There are only 2 Snorlaxes in the game, both at level 30. This is where I'm most tempted to use cross-gen trading to get a Snorlax into the Pika Cup, because Amnesia Snorlax was a hoot to use in Gen 1. Yeah, I don't think I need to tell you the legendary birds won't be becoming Pika Cup superstars. Only one of each of them in the game, all at level 50 when caught. Moving on. Dratini is fished at level 15 in the Safari Zone central area in red and blue with a Super Rod, 10 in yellow. It evolves into Dragonair at level 30, but you can also find them in the same area in yellow at level 15. If cross-generation trading were allowed, you could send this Dragonair over to a Gen 2 game and trade it for a Dodrio and have a level 15 Dodrio, but I've banned that, so never mind. I just thought I'd bring it up. As for Dragonite, don't make me laugh. Dragonair doesn't evolve into it until level 55, and unlike that rotten Cheetah Lance, we're not resorting to a Game Shark. Interestingly enough, you can find Dragonites as low as level 10 and 3 in Generation 7, but that's 6 gens and 20 years too late. Stop making me feel old. Mewtwo and Mew are banned, nothing needs to be said. And there you go. In the end, out of all 151 Pokemon, there are 38 ineligible for the Pika Cup, which honestly isn't nearly as many as you'd think it'd be. Building a tough team of Pokemon that you can look at with pride has always been one of the greatest joys of Pokemon, and with the level restrictions of the Pika Cup and finding any means necessary to get around them, it's even more satisfying. Maybe I'm the only person who cares about this subject, but I hope you found it interesting regardless, and who knows, there might be a sequel to this involving something from the second generation. We'll see, but for now, goodbye and may all your bees be my wax.